The Arkansas Trucking Association is a bunch of liars, and I can prove it right here. They're a bunch of pansies that couldn't stick up for what they say they stick up for, and then tried to take credit for what they didn't do in the end. I can prove it right here, and I intend to do so. It's time to call this organization out. Well, guys, I guess if an organization has the initials ATA, they're just corrupt and don't actually stand for what they say they stand for. Because the American Trucking Association is the exact same as the Arkansas Trucking Association. All about the big money and the big companies, not the truck drivers. I could go on and on about the American Trucking Association, but this thing right here has me so pissed off that they're taking credit for something that they had nothing to do. In fact, they fought against this. So let me read an article to you here. Now, this was from back in March 25th, and a lot of people know that this was going on, but this will actually set the stage for what the Arkansas Trucking Association recently did. The Arkansas House of Representatives and Senate are debating two bills to enact harsher punishments against truck drivers who are in the U.S. illegally and obtain or use commercial driver's licenses. Arkansas House Bill 1569, okay, this was the good bill, 1569, filed in February, calls for commercial motor vehicle drivers operating in the state to demonstrate proficiency in the English language. These drivers must be able to read road signs and warning signs, understand traffic control devices, and communicate effectively in an emergency with emergency services, law enforcement, and other drivers. This is the bill that was introduced by the American Truckers United. The bill, named the Secure Roads and Safe Trucking Act of 2025, would fine truck drivers without sufficient English proficiency $5,000. HB 1569 also calls for harsher penalties for drivers operating without a valid CDL, including a fine of $5,000 and impoundment of their motor vehicle. In addition, it would stiffen laws against undocumented drivers who injure another person while operating their vehicle, making it a Class D felony carrying a minimum 6-month prison sentence. Undocumented drivers who commit vehicular homicide with a commercial motor vehicle, regardless of intent, would face a minimum 10 years in prison. This would be a Class B felony. Additionally, carriers who negligently provide CMVs to individuals in violation of HB 1569 would be fined $10,000. So the companies would be in trouble too. HB 1569 is strongly supported by the advocacy group American Truckers United. The group also opposes House Bill 1745, which passed in the House on Thursday and has argued it would legalize foreign CDLs in the state. So the HB 1745, that was the Arkansas Trucking Association's. HB 1745, now awaiting action in Senate, would make presenting a fake CDL or operating a commercial vehicle without employment authorization document a Class D felony. HB 1745 allows a person to drive a CMV if he or she has a CDL or non-commercial or commercial learner's permit issued by state, territory, or possession of the U.S., the District of Columbia, or Puerto Rico. Drivers with a CDL issued by Canada, Mexico, or any other jurisdiction would be, it goes on to say, they would be permitted. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association said while it supports the intent of HB 1745, it wished the bill would have went farther to address hiring issues of large carriers. We generally support the intent of HB 1745 in the Arkansas legislature, but wish the bill went further to address the underlying issue: corporate mega carriers recruiting foreign truck drivers to undercut the ability of American truck drivers to earn a decent living, said Doug Morris, OIDA director of State Affairs. Corporate mega carriers will use every loophole available, including those previously established by the FMCSA, to save a buck on the backs of American truck drivers. We are actively pursuing solutions on a state and federal level to right this wrong. So basically, the HB 1745, although it added some rules, it did not put carriers out of service. It it basically was not much of a bill. They went so far fighting. They spent more time fighting House Bill 1569. And they basically came out with this piece of crap, which actually did get through everything. In fact, all of those of us that support the American Truckers United and we're hoping for the HB 1569, we're very disappointed when the HB 1745 went through. So then the Arkansas Trucking Association said all kinds of bad things about this HB 1569, saying it was too harsh. We don't need that. And basically they were saying that it's going to cost people in Arkansas because they'll lose their federal funding. Apparently, they forgot who's in office now, but they said they would lose their federal funding. They're going to lose this. It's an irresponsible bill. So what was Trump's answer? So now they had this HB 1745 in Arkansas, but we all know what happened recently with the executive order. In case you don't know, I'm going to tell you. So this is right off the White House website about the executive order that Trump signed. And it says, today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to keep American families safe on the road by ensuring anyone behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle is properly qualified and proficient in English. The order directs the Secretary of Transportation to rescind guidance that watered down the law requiring English proficiency for commercial drivers, which means they always had the law. But in 2016, Obama pretty much made it not an out-of-service violation. I guess you could get a fine, but they said as long as you could use translating equipment, things like that, it goes way into it. No matter, it's over. It mandates revisiting out-of-service criteria to ensure drivers violating English proficiency rules are placed out of service, enhancing roadway safety. It instructs the Secretary of Transportation to review state issuance of non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses to identify any irregularities and ensure American drivers are validly licensed and qualified. The order directs the Secretary of Transportation to carry out additional administrative, regulatory, and enforcement actions to improve the working condition of America's truck drivers. So basically what this executive order was, he was telling the Secretary of Transportation, we're going to crack down on this, and he cracked down hard. The CVSA, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Administration, cracked down hard, and they are the boss of the FMCSA. Out of service orders, things like that, are going to be enforced again starting June 25th. It does go on to say President Trump recognizes that America's truck drivers are essential to the strength of our economy, the security of our nation, and the livelihoods of the American people. Trump believes that English is a non-negotiable safety requirement for professional drivers, as they should be able to read and understand traffic signs, communicate with traffic safety officers, border patrol, agricultural checkpoints, and cargo weight limit station personnel, and provide and receive feedback and directions in English. Federal law mandates that commercial vehicle drivers read and speak English sufficiently, yet this requirement has not been enforced pursuant to Obama administration guidance, compromising roadway safety as trucking fatalities have increased since this guidance was issued. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death in the United States, killing over 120 people every day. The Trump administration is committed to enforcing this law and protecting the safety of American truck American truckers, drivers, passengers, and others by ensuring that anyone operating a commercial vehicle is properly qualified and proficient in English, the national language. So basically, if you go through what Trump was saying there, he was probably even a bit more harsh than the HB 1569 that the ATU, American Truckers United, wanted put in place. And he comes out with this executive order, basically almost word for word. Most of it is the exact same thing, except he's a little bit more harsh. He's actually requiring English proficiency tests before you get a CDL, or for CDL holders. So, he went a bit farther. So this was a huge win. But now let me show you how the ATA, the Arkansas Trucking Association, decided to take credit for this. All right, so I'm going to put this up on the screen here while I read it because it's just ridiculous. And this did come from the Arkansas Trucking Association. The Arkansas Trucking Association today welcomed President Trump's executive order recognizing English proficiency requirements for commercial truck drivers, a safety standard the organization had already championed at the state level through the passage of HB 1745 earlier this year. After successfully advocating for solutions in Arkansas, we're pleased to see this issue elevated to the national level where it can have its greatest impact. The Arkansas Trucking Association President Shannon Newton, said Arkansas Trucking Association. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing too much for this, but because trucking is fundamentally an interstate industry, the federal approach is necessarily to ensure consistent enforcement of the safety standards across all highways. The executive order on April 28 directs several specific actions that will affect our industry. Rescission of the 2016 enforcement memo. FMCSA is directed to rescind. I'm not going to read through all this. Revision of out of service criteria, review of non-Samada. They're basically listing all the things that I just talked about, which is all the things that they were against with HB 1569. This general action aligns with our recent success at the state level with HB 1745, which codified the federal English proficiency requirement into Arkansas law and addressed the issue of fraudulent foreign commercial driver's licenses by requiring additional documentation. We will continue to monitor developments. Oh my gosh. What a bunch of crap. That was all just a bunch of crap. Everything that they said that they supported, the whole list of things here was exactly what they spent so much time fighting American Truckers United against. They were fighting to not have this put in because they wouldn't get their federal funding, or maybe Walmart, one of the biggest companies probably the biggest company in Arkansas, I would imagine, maybe they wouldn't get their donations from them. Let's think, is there any other big trucking companies in Arkansas? No, not big ones, just JB Hunt and ABF Freight. I know there's other ones too, but they're all real big companies that are, I'm sure the ATA is in their pocket. I don't know for sure. I don't even care anymore. They're so insignificant to me now, except they had to be called out on this. They were against this, and then they take credit for it? Jeez. I talked to the American Truckers United about it, and they are aware of this, but they're not focusing on this. They're moving forward, okay? They got the executive order now. Now they're moving forward because they're an advocacy group, not a in the pockets of big corporations group. They're an advocacy group, so they are working on now. They got this passed. Let's move forward. They're not going to focus on the back and look at this. They really had no comment about this at all because they're moving forward. So, but I did have a comment about it. I thought it was worth a quick video. Anyway, guys, not much more to say about that. Either way, it doesn't really matter anymore because we got the federal executive order and the laws going into effect through the CVSA and the FMCSA now. Anyway, guys, oh man, you just can't fix stupid. You just can't fix stupid. All right, guys, thanks for watching this. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment. I do read all the comments. And if you don't want to comment, publicly like this, you can email me at finchresources@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Substack, and TikTok under the Trucking Resources name. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.